My special guest today is Leni Stern, guitarist extraordinaire, composer extraordinaire, band leader since a long time, businesswoman, and lucky for me, one of my Sheroes over the last 6 years. We got to collaborate on 3 projects and several tours, and it's been just a real special treat for me because, Leni is somebody I was looking up, coming here and seeing a musician that came from the same country and did kind of the same thing, jumped ship and went for her dreams, and to see her do what she does and become so successful was a real encouragement for me. So one day I called her out of the blue and said, "Hey, do you want to play with me on this album?" And she said, "Sure." And so our first collaboration was on The Whole World in Her Hands, and Leni contributed a tune called The Cat That Stole the Moon. And well, welcome, Leni, and I would love for you to talk a little bit first about yourself and that tune before we listen to it to set us up. So, hello.
Hi, Monika. Hi, Monika. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Well, let me talk about the song first. It's always easier than talking about myself. In Mali, where I wrote that song, there is a tradition. It's like akin to trick-or-treating, where on the new moon nights, it's more often than our trick-or-treating is once a year. The Cat Stole the Moon happens 12 times. Every time there's a new moon, the kids go around with anything they can bang on, shakers, cans, and they say, "The cat has stolen the moon, the cat has stolen the moon," which is what they say when there's no moon in the sky because the cat has stolen it. And then when they come and they inform you, you have to give them candy. And while I was recording on a new moon night, the kids came to the studio and I said, "What are they saying? What are they screaming?" And my engineer said, "They're saying the cat has stolen the moon." I said, "What do you mean? What the cat? Which cat? Whose cat?" And he said, "There's no moon in the sky." And I said, "Oh, I get it. The cat has stolen the moon." And we were just recording this song, and it had no name. It was called The New Song. And then I said, "We got a title, The Cat Has Stolen the Moon." I had the melody because I was very intrigued with the music in Mali that is sort of to this day derived from the court music. And this particular one from the court of Sundiata Keita had, Sundiata was a big music lover, and he had, like we Germans, he had court musicians. And the legend said that he had kora players through the whole palace. And when he was bathing, there was a kora player on each end of the pool playing. And there's many stories in song about him. And they're all accompanied by these kora compositions. And they sound deceptively simple until you study them and you realize there isn't a downbeat anywhere inside. They sound a little bit reminiscent to German music that we play on harp and zithers, except everything is moved over by either a 16th note or a triplet, and it's all on the upbeat. But the plucking string sound reminded me of music from our home, the Stubenmusik. And so I was very fascinated with it. And Stubenmusik has its origins. I don't know that for sure, but it's old music. It was a variation on classical music that normal people, that popular musicians played, but it was derived from that harmony. And so I saw a communality in those chorus songs, but I experiment in this composition with the moving of the downbeat in the style of the choral compositions in today's Mali. They are today. There's, the instruments are the same. Even so, great Malian musicians have modernized the instruments. And actually, as we collaborate more, the choral used to always be tuned to F, and the Goni was to F also, but Tumani Jabati, the main innovator on the kora today, I would say, just tuned his kora to E, which is a tune where Western popular music is tuned in.
Right.
For F, except for you, it's a good key, but for us guitar players, it's terrible. Unless you retune your guitar to E flat, and then it becomes a good key again. But the melodic influence of the song was also influenced by, Mali was a country that the French colonialists made.
Mm-hmm.
They were fighting amongst each other about who belongs with the Europeans, nice as we were. That's as cynical. It was called, I think, Southern Sudan or Northern Sudan or something. They gave it a name. But it was comprised of many ethnicities that all had different kingdoms and different ethnicities within them. And the melody of this comes from the Wasulu people. And I was fascinated by it because, it's the guitar player's favorite scale, the pentatonic scale, and it's an A minor pentatonic scale.
Right.
But they don't look at it as an A minor pentatonic scale. They look at it as a D scale. So it's a scale without a third. It only has a fourth and a fifth and a seventh, which leaves it so that this ambiguity, when you improvise over it, it can be either major or minor. It can be a lot of things, and it reminded me of Chicavia's and Herbie Hancock's and Joe Zawinul's experiments, which were all influenced by the different world music scales that we find, aside from the scales that we in the West favor, Right. Also, classical composers have always done that. Bartók has taken the crazy Hungarian scales and influenced that, and Mozart has taken some of the Arabic scales for his Sheroes, like those were all like Phrygian sharp 4 and those kind of scales. So yeah, this is how
a lot of the ambiguity of the blues comes from, where you don't have a defined third, and it could be major and minor, and you play around with it.
Right.
So that's fascinating. Yeah, and it was fun. Yeah, go ahead.
It comes from the instrument itself. The instrument that I played in Goni doesn't have any frets. So a lot of the articulation is the sliding, like in Indian music, the sliding around the tone. And it is not a tempered instrument, which is quite challenging in my own music to incorporate tempered and non-tempered instruments. It is a challenge recording,
So yeah, so that specific tune of yours, as you said, it's based on this pentatonic scale, and that's pretty much it. That's the melody. And when we recorded it and did it together, usually as the jazz musicians, you say, "Oh, what are we going to solo over? What's the chorus?" And you just went, "Well, let's just play together for a while," and we did, and you provided that openness for us. Plus, I remember you were really, really sick too.
I was. I don't remember that. I just remember having fun.
But it was great to get that in and have that communal improvisation, especially in a group where we just got together and got to know each other. And
that was fabulous how that worked out. I often try to work songs. Somebody said it to me. I think it was John Laporta. One of my teachers said, jazz songs are excuses for improvisation or vehicles for improvisation. That's what you should try to think of when you compose them. Make something that makes it easy or fun to improvise. I think he said that because he didn't want us to write these compositions and then how do you solo over that and reference the song. Where is the song? Lush Life. Whoa.
Right.
is very difficult to, how are you going to write a better melody than the melody that the song already has? In your improvisation, it's not very friendly for improvisation. So I try to make the melody simple so that you can vary it in your solo.
That's really cool info. So are we ready? I think we're ready to listen to it, and of course we have lots to chat about, but I think it would be fun to listen and go ahead. So here's The Cat That Stole the Moon. It's recorded on The Whole World in Her Hands by Leni Stern, and listen for that very cool pentatonic melody, that's simple but not simple, and the communal improvisation that we were able to do in the studio in that moment. So here it is. The Cat That Stole the Moon by Leni Stern. Really, really, really a fun tune, and thank you for bringing that to the table. So
thank you for
of course. So 2 years later, well, we started touring together and started playing each other's repertoire, and 2 years later we went back, or actually 3 years later, into the studio and recorded another tune of yours, Bubbles. And I'll let you explain it, but there's two special features to it. The rhythmic constellation, because I remember when we first rehearsed it, everybody was confused. So are we playing in 2 or in 3? Or some took on different planes. And then, of course, it has a really fun history from your background. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Bubbles was my one of my early attempts to incorporate African rhythms into a composition and incorporate the layering of a 4/4 and a 3/4, or like a 2/4 and a 3/4. And imply both rhythms at the same time. I wrote it during the time where the Mahavishnu Orchestra was out and everybody was playing in 11/8, like Follow Your Heart, you know, those songs, or 7/8 or 7/4, you know, or 5/4, like, you know, Mick Goodrick's Mevlevia. All of those tunes were really in it. And I thought it would be cool to write in the layered version. So I took percussion classes at Berkeley, because I was a film scoring major, and that was one of the electives that we had. So I learned several bell patterns, and I came up with the song. And at the time, my band was Dennis Chambers, and he really loved that African 6/8. He really went to town on that, and wanted all of it. So I was really pleased, because I was really pleased to have him in my band, and I wanted to make him happy. I don't know, when we were on the road, we were talking, it was still called song number 6 and song number 7. Like, you know, Pat Metheny numbered all of his songs. So like I suffered from the same thing. It was like 6 or 7. And then we were talking about pets, because Dennis had a dog, a Dalmatian, that was his best friend. It was called Freckles. And we somehow the talk got into that. I always wanted to have a monkey, because when I was a little girl in Germany, a girl in my class had a monkey, and I was just a bit of her, and I tortured my mother that I wanted to have a monkey also. And my mother said, we live in Germany, it's too cold, the monkey's going to get pneumonia, which is actually what happened to the girl's monkey. It did not survive the Munich winter. You know, we're so close to the Alps, it's very, very cold, and the monkey did get pneumonia and died. It was very sad. But I read that Michael Jackson had a monkey, and that he called him Bubbles. So Dennis said, we ought to name that song Bubbles, because he was very sympathetic to my love of pets, since he also shared that, you know. So we called it Bubbles. And then years later, I had an actual African rhythm section. And they heard that song, and they said, that is an African 6/8. And I was proud as a peacock, because to this day, I had never been to Africa. When I wrote that song, I just listened to records, you know, and tried to, you know, being German, I analyzed what was going on with the two time fields on top of each other, and the melody going to 1, and the rhythm, you know, like playing back and forth. The bass keeps the 4, the melody keeps the 6, and then we switch it. The bass keeps the 6, the melody keeps the 4, and all of that. But I wouldn't have said that I wrote an African rhythm. I would have said I was inspired by it. And they said, they immediately took possession of it. They said, that's an African 6/8. And they said, and this is the call that goes with it. And that's where the call came from. The call is a traditional call for 6/8 in Senegal. Ba 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 da da da. That's how in the dances that feature the 6/8, the dancers are called. That's the get ready kind of thing. And I always liked how in Africa they don't count the song of like 1, 2, 1, 2. They call it out with a call, which is so cool, because it gives you more information than just the tempo. It tells you where the accents lie, what the feel is, and so I really thought that was such a good idea to have a call instead of a count off. And I incorporated the call in our recording. We played the version with the call. From that day on, I put the call as part of the song, as part of the composition. Also, like, you know, to tell you the truth, when you're not African, the call is actually confusing, because we're not used to characterizing our rhythms by a call. We say something, we write something, and then we count it off. And we call it a certain feel, you know, like a 2 feel or a 6/8 feel or 6/4 feel. we describe it in words. We don't just go ba 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 and da da and da da and ga ga ga, and then we know what's going on. For us, it's like, what? But I think it worked out great when we do it, and it's a great little interlude, you know, between the solos. It just like goes crackle. There we go. And of course, it's very effective for the audience. You know, I learned a lot from African musicians. They know how to get an audience to look.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely love to play it. And you're right. I mean, we all had to struggle for a minute with the call and go
It's
1
unusual,
and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. and figure it out and learn how to count it. But we did, and it was so much fun to play it. So when we listened to it, so Abel here, Leni soloing over the ostinato pattern, or the really cool bass pattern on it, and then we'll hear Jamie solo on actually the harmonies and the chorus, and Reud and myself will trade, and there's also the percussion solo. And I remember, you know, Walter Smith, the third great saxophone player, is now teaching at Berkeley, and he taught here for a minute, and he came back, saw me one day and flagged me down and said, hey, I was driving to the airport and this song, Leni's song, came on, and I just absolutely love it. Please give me one of your CDs. Oh. And I was so flattered, because, you know, this is somebody who is just a rising star and a wonderful person. So great version. So let's listen to Bubbles from our 2018 CD, Sheroes. Enjoy. by Leni Stern. So let's talk one more from our collaborations, and then I absolutely want to also get to your brand new CD, which is fascinating. But just this year, we released our Eternal Dance album in March, and your contribution to that one was a tune called Rabbit. And of course, we heard now quite a bit from your African influences. So here's another one, and it does have that call at the beginning. So give us a little of that imagery you're painting with that rabbit song.
You know how a rabbit, when it runs fast, like the front feet go through the back feet, like how it runs really fast? That's the image I had with that melody, you know, with the, like how that jumps up and down and down. I was kind of like trying to paint a picture of, like, you know, when a rabbit really picks up speed, the front feet are behind the front feet are behind the back feet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like the way they like pick up speed and like haul ass. That's the kind of image I had in my mind. I'm just realizing I have so many animals in my songs.
Maybe you like animals? That could be a reason.
I would be a zookeeper if I could stand to keep animals caged up, but I can't. Now that's actually the image I sort of had. I wanted to write like a really fast song, and I thought like that sort of jumping melody was kind of like an image of the rabbit with the front feet behind the back feet racing down. And I imagine us all like this, like play as fast as you can. But I wanted it all like anchored in like a really solid groove, which I by then had realized that you could, like, if you have a really solid groove on the bottom, a big fat groove, you know, with a bass like in the low register, you can let hell go loose on the top. It really allows for and this was just like The Cat Stole the Moon. It's a song that invites an open improvisation, because I just give like a key center, like E and A, where you can really run wherever you like to run. Run as fast as you can, run wherever you feel like it. Or run together. You know, it's like, you know, you play the head and then you just all go off crazy. Yeah, sometimes when we play the Melbourne, we play it like that. And you play the head again and then you all go off crazy the other way. So that's kind of the idea for writing songs. There are compositions that are focused on harmonic freedom, but rhythmic strictness. So the groove is very like propulsive and defined, but the harmony is as you please. You go wherever you want to, as long as you can make your out and back, which is not hard. If I try to make it easy to sort of restrict the rhythm but open the harmony. A lot of times we do the opposite in jazz. We restrict the harmony and we open the rhythm. So I just kind of thought, maybe I'll do it the other way around.
It's a very, very fun tune to play on, especially when you go for the rabbit imagery and you just run as fast as you can and get the freedom. And the interesting thing is that, you know, in contrast to The Cat That Stole the Moon, it's also open improvisation, but more focused on the one player rather than the communal improvisation that we had in this one. So that's kind of interesting to observe, that now we have the freedom of you run as fast as you can and we'll support you, rather than we all run as fast as you can and tumble across each other.
And it's like, the thing is like a fast song. We wanted a fast song. Rabbit, The Cat is like a medium song, but Rabbit is fast. As fast. How fast can you run? And also, you know, that's something I learned a lot from the Africans too. They are very aware of entertaining the audience.
Mhm.
When I was in Africa, the connection between the public and the audience was elevated in sort of a high art form. In our jazz forms, like with Miles Davis, like the birth of the cool, we were cool, and also in a reflection of our racist society. Those black folks playing for white audiences, they were like in a bad mood to start with, you know. And it was a different vibe. But in Africa, it's like, you know, when I played in Salif Keita's band, when we always got the talking to after the concert, like you came in the wrong place. But the best thing he would say to us, and he would not pick us apart, is that you got them dancing and you kept them dancing. That was like, you got the audience and you had them on their feet all night long. I don't care if you came in at the wrong bridge or you know, that was the point of it, is to play for people more directly than I feel it here sometimes, you know, in jazz, you know,
right.
Like other forms of music, it is more geared towards the audience, but in jazz we sort of stayed with the cool, which, you know, I'm not that I got nothing against that either, but every once in a while it's good to just like play as fast as you can for the people.
Well, thank you for providing that opportunity for us, and then we did it. So let's
done with.
let's have a listen, and let's see how fast we ran, and then after that, let's talk about your new album and that whole philosophy. So here's Rabbit from the 2020 release, Eternal Dance, composed by Leni Stern. That was Rabbit from Eternal Dance, and thanks for making us run as fast as we could, Leni. That was fun. So let's talk about your music a little more. I wanna stir towards a release that you just put out on a really great date, because it was actually on my birthday that it came out. Thank you. And that was June 12th when it came out. And this is with your African band. And I mean, we'll listen to one song especially called Lumbar. And you said this is Mali's favorite rhythm. But I want to hear a little bit about your bandmates, how you guys got together, how you work together, and also interesting how that mix of sound is not your usual studio sound. It's a very dry mix and dry keyboard sound, if that has a reason or not.
It's kind of like downtown New York styling, you know, new jazz styling, you know, we like that here. Very analog, you know, that's like, I'll be like with a little tip of the hat to the old vinyl recordings. We also don't do CDs anymore. We only do records and downloads. I hope that doesn't sound like we're snobs, because we're not. We just like that sound, you know, like those old 50 records, you know, 50s records. I still, you know, I got a record player again. I like brought my old one out, but it was like actually like not repairable. So I bought a new one, and I'm listening to records again, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And you know, I'm old enough. I made records at first. I remember sitting at the mastering and saw the black like things falling off when they cut the vinyl. You know, those squigglies that come off when they actually cut the grooves. I remember sitting there thinking like, oh my God, I hope this doesn't suck. Oh my God, I hope this is not going to be the end of my career. I remember that. And then I remember listening to the test pressing. You could only listen to it 3 times. After that, it would start jumping. So you had to just like be a grown up and listen to it and say, is there anything very wrong with it, or can I live with this? And I just like that sound, you know. There's something like authentic to it, and I sort of gravitate for that. It also suits me because I play a vintage Stratocaster, and I have vintage amps, and I have, you know, I have a lot of modern equipment and modern things, but my favorite microphone is a Neumann U42, you know, and like an old ribbon mic, like all of that. Just that kind of sound, I think, was a really good sound, and we're going back to that. But as a producer, I've always loved that. And so now that I'm creating the actual sound of the record as a producer, I try to emphasize those things that I like to listen to the best, you know, and I hope that people out there share my, or at least appreciate my view on a soundscape that I love. And you know, I'm inspired by all the great recordings of the 50s and the, you know, the early ECM records. Jan Kungshausen, the Swedish great engineer who just recently passed away. So that's kind of like the production thing that I like. And we record on an old Neve console here downtown in New York. To Lamba. Lamba is like one of the most popular rhythms in Mali. I mean, there's like hundreds of rhythms, but actually, I think like right now, Lamba is very popular. It kind of shifts, like all of a sudden something else becomes popular, but right now, Lamba is like, it's really in, and a lot of people are writing things in Lamba. And when I studied African rhythms, at first for me, it was difficult to memorize long rhythm calls or just even rhythms without a melody or harmony attached. It was much easier for me to remember when there was a melody to it, because I'm used to remembering melodies and I'm used to remembering harmonies, and I can remember long harmony sequences. But if I try to remember a 36-bar rhythm without a melody and a harmony attached to it, it's very difficult for me. So I thought, I just like write a melody to it, and that's the end of that. And then I can remember what it is. And it worked like a charm. Lamba is a very short one, but I've written other melodies where we actually but I took a whole call, like 16 bars of a rhythm, and I just wrote a melody to it so that I could remember the very syncopated call. Lamba is not that syncopated. It's a fairly simple rhythm, but it just outlines the rhythm, and it's a variation, like a call and response to it. That's how I wrote it. And the reason I got my great Senegalese band was I recorded my African records in Africa. And when I came, of course, I don't live year round in Africa. So when I came to America, I wanted people to play the music that I recorded there. And because of its rhythmic quality, I was looking for an African expat band. And that's when I came as a bass player upon Mamadou, who was Harry Belafonte's musical director. But as Harry was getting older, the tours were getting shorter, and I got the Mamadou. I got Mr. Bar. I share him with Harry. And in fact, Mamadou brought Alun to the band when we were finishing a record that I had recorded in Mali. My first records in Mali didn't have any Western instruments on it except for me on my guitar. Everything else was African instruments. But then I experimented with putting drums and electric bass on it, on some of it, because it sounded really nice. And I started creating this sort of hybrid that I'm still doing now, for now. And Mamadou and Alun joined that Malian project. And as they joined, I had played in Toumani Diabaté's band in Mali, and Toumani is half Senegalese. I think his mother might be Senegalese. And he integrated Senegalese rhythms and Malian music. It was scandalous. Malian people and Senegalese people say, like, what is he doing? This is like sacrilegious. It's not possible, but it sounds really, really cool. The sound of the sabar drums, which is like a unison section, they all play the same thing. And they're like, it's like running for the New York subway. Such a powerful group. And I played with his band, and I love that group. So when I found two expat Senegalese here, I remembered Toumani's band, and I said, let me just borrow from Master Diabaté over there and try to do a little bit of that flavoring in here. And it worked really great. It worked great with the jazz rhythm because, jazz comes from Africa. So it blends with the stuff completely naturally. It's like, I was very lucky, that I was taught by these great African masters in Africa. And that I found all this. We have a great expat African community here in New York. Mm-hmm. Senegalese, Malian, like everybody's here. And a very great African music scene. And a lot of jazz musicians have been borrowing, everybody has a percussionist from uptown. But I also got Mamadou Ba, who plays bass, but he's played with many, many other artists. So this fusion is not my idea. I mean, originally it was Savinu's idea, and I was very inspired by the way he did that, and Weather Report.
Right. Well, I would say let's listen to this one first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your band with the other tunes. So we'll have it.
Yeah.
But so the fun thing for this one is, let's see if everybody will get up and get dancing. It's Mali's favorite rhythm. So this is Lumbar from Leni Stern's 2020 recording 4, it's called, right?
It's called 4.
It's called 4, and it just got a 4-star review in Downbeat. So go check it out. Here we go, Lumbar. That was Lumbar. I hope everybody was up and dancing.
Thank you for listening to Talking Jazz. My guest today was Leni Stern, and you heard music from the Sheroes releases Eternal Dance, Sheroes, The Whole World in Her Hands, and Leni Stern's 2020 release 4.